Hi there, I'm Kusal Goonewardena, elite athlete sports physiotherapist, and I've been a physio for more than 15 years now. I've conducted over 35,000 treatments in sports physiotherapy alone, so 35,000 sessions, and over the course of my career I've been able to work with countless physiotherapists in sport, and I've been able to mentor countless number of young therapists in physio as well. I found that there was always scenarios where either therapists weren't appreciated or they weren't recognised, and that led to a lot of unhappiness for some of the younger therapists. It was fine for the more experienced therapists, but for the younger ones, they would lose a little bit of themselves, really, because ultimately, you're not being appreciated for the work you're doing, or you're not really having you're not being rewarded for the work that you've been done or the work that you've done. So I wanted to share what I've found over the last 15 years in the four pillars or the four essentials that to make you a successful sports physio. I learned all this the hard way. I was, with the work that I was doing, sometimes I wasn't recognised, some of the work wasn't appreciated, and I would lose confidence, and it didn't leave me in a good place. But with time, I worked out a few patterns, and I was able to synthesize this information of these patterns into these four essentials. So here they are. I'm going to present this to you now. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps you in your journey. You're in a wonderful profession that allows you to help so many thousands of people, and if you have these basics, then of course you're able to make a bigger impact. So without me waffling on for any longer, let's get into the lecture component of it. So these are the essentials, the four essentials to be a successful sports physiotherapist. Over my career, I found there were certain patterns for me to get my results. There were certain patterns that emerged to get me to the next level, and there were certain patterns that allowed me to progress through my career. But fortunately, these patterns, there were only four pillars to it. These were the four essentials, and by concentrating on these four things, I'm able to be the physio therapist that I am now. And that's why I'd like to share this with you, because everything that I did fell under these pillars. So, what are they? In order, you have to be competent with the work that you do. You have to be confident in the work that you do. Your professional development is quite important. And finally, your commitment. And I'll be running through these four things with you to show you what I've done, the things that have made a difference for me, and I'd like to put it out to you because it'll help you further your career as a sports practitioner. The first is competence. Being a competent practitioner means that you're able to get the best results in the shortest period of time. Getting the best results in the shortest period of time, I learned it through my work with my elite athletes. If, for example, an elite athlete is going to the Olympics or the national championships, I have to make sure that they're primed and ready for their tournament or their sport. Now, if they're not, then they can't perform at their highest level. And if they can't perform at their highest level, well, they're missing out. They're missing out on their personal best. They're missing out on performing at their best. They're missing out on a possible medal. And they're also missing out on a major contract. So if I can't give these two things, then it doesn't help them. So for me to be an excellent sports practitioner, I should be able to do this day in, day out with every single athlete that I have. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to get this day in, day out, and sometimes you can't actually do it at all, because sometimes as a physiotherapist, the help they need is something that they need. I can't provide them. So what can we do? The next thing as being competent is to make a difference. Making a difference is ultimately you being able to say, well, you're in this position here, you're in position A, and I want you to be in position B. How do I get you across that way? How do I get you over there? Making a difference would be getting the best results in the shortest period of time with my help. But sometimes if that person needs someone else's help, if they need to see an orthopedic surgeon, the fact that I've made that decision or I've come to that decision very quickly, I've been able to make a difference. So making a difference adds to being a competent practitioner. Making a plan. What does that all mean? Making a plan means that if you're unsure how to take this person from point A to point B, you are starting to create a plan in place. You might be, well, first of all, you might be unsure how to take them from point A to point B. Your treatment or your analysis or your assessment, you might need to spend some time with these people or these athletes, and you're thinking, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. I'm not sure, I haven't learned this yet. Or you might think, I really need to speak to one of my senior therapists about this person. That in itself is a plan. Just by identifying what your limitation is, by saying, all right, well, I need to get this person from point A to point B being, okay, the Olympics or a tournament, or just the fact that they're out of surgery and they're coming back into training. Making a plan on doing that is quite vital, and making a plan makes you quite competent. I put this question, I ask a lot of my students this, and I ask them, what type of profession do you think you're in? And I also say, well, what type of profession do you think physios are in? What type of profession are you, or are you doing? And more often than not, they'll say, well, I'm a physiotherapist, or I'm a sports practitioner. But what does that mean? Ultimately, it means that you're in the profession of happiness. You're taking a person from point A to point B, point A being something that they're struggling with, they're in pain, they can't train, or they can't compete because of a few issues. It might be musculoskeletal, for example. And what you've gone and done is identified that and then said, okay, well, you're at point A now, we want to get to point B, this is what I've identified as some things that I can help you with. Once we achieve that, we're going to get to point B. And point B is happiness for that person. Point B is what that person wants to achieve. So one day if we cross paths And if I'm able to talk to you one day and I say, well, what kind of profession are you in? Well, you'll know the answer. But we are in this profession. We are in this profession to make people happy, because they've gone from not being able to do something to be able to do something. And for a lot of people, when people can't achieve what they want or they're limited, there's a lot of unhappiness. And that is one of the major reasons they come and see you. A lot of young therapists who I've mentored, who I've worked with, especially therapists who have been 1 or 2 years out of university, they have a lot of information. There's almost an information overload, and trying to grasp at the things that would make a difference. They ultimately think, oh my God, am I actually helping my patient? Am I actually helping my athlete? If you're unsure at any stage, and look, there are lots of practitioners who go through this within the first 2 to 3 years, and I must say, it does get easier, okay? It had happened to me, and I was able to work through it because I was ultimately looking at 2 things. One, am I being ethical? Ethical means that I'm not going to do any harm. Everything that I want to do with this athlete or this patient is to make a difference for them. Even when I first started, it wasn't me trying to get the best results in the shortest period of time. I didn't have the skill level. That slowly improved, but I was trying to make a difference. The difference was me trying to make them happier. And if your goal ultimately is to take them from point A to point B, and you can make them happier, well, you're not trying to do any harm. And the fact that you're trying to take them on that journey, and you know your limitations, you know what to do, what not to do, and you're trying to make their lives better, you've then gone and addressed these 2 things. You're being ethical, okay, because you're working by the guidelines as a therapist. And secondly, you're not doing any harm, because deep down what you're trying to do is to make a difference for them. So being competent means, one of the things about being competent was when you are unsure, and during the early stages of any physiotherapist, any sports medicine practitioner, there are vital pressures. There's a lot of pressure from the outside to get the results, and you know, the athletes want results. They want it in such a short period of time. You're not sure whether you're doing the right thing. But think about it. Think about whether what you're doing is trying to make a difference, and you're trying to help them, you're trying to make them happier, and if you can answer yes to all those questions, well, you're on the right track. And usually, if you're unsure, one of the biggest things I say is speak to a senior therapist, okay? Go to a senior therapist, say, this is where they are now, this is where they want to get to, am I taking the right steps? And just having that senior therapist look at that and then respond will be very helpful for you as a young practitioner. As a young practitioner, you might be in that situation, but there are a lot of senior therapists as well who are unsure of what steps to take, because it might be an athlete that they're or a situation they're not used to. It might be a different sport that they haven't looked into. I'm one of the first people to put my hand up and say, and I go back to my team and I'll say, well, guys, what do you think? Are we on track here? Am I on track here to do what I want with this person? And having that collaboration is very helpful. So that's something to always keep in the back of your mind. To be competent, there are times you'll feel unsure. but there are ways to get around it. The things that ultimately help you become competent are your experience, okay? The experience that you've had, even if you're a young therapist or even if you're a therapist with 25 years experience. The fact that you have had some form of experience, whether you were working as a trainer, whether you were working as a first aid officer, whether you were working as a student under a senior therapist, that will add to your experience. The next is your training itself. You will have had training in specific elements of your sport, or it might be something to do with a team. It might not be any of those things. It might simply be training in your course itself. Excuse me. It might be you training in your undergraduate program. And then it might be you training in your postgraduate program. So your competence, ultimately, the foundation of your competence starts there. That is your building blocks. That's where it all begins. And you need to make sure that is sound. Okay, so you at least have the theory behind you. You have some practical skills, but you know the basics to help you to get to the next level. So these are all the things that help you become competent, and these are quite vital. So that was competence. As I said, all of those things I talked about just before are key things that has helped me in the past during my career. When you are competent, you are then able to apply a little bit at a time, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of skill, and that then allows you to become confident. Now, confidence goes a long way, and the things that you have to do to improve confidence are body language, okay, non-verbal skills. So you'll find that your non-verbal skills and your body language, they account for 90% of your communication skills. What you speak about, all the verbal cues and the verbal communication accounts for only about 10% in human behavior and human interaction. So it's very interesting. At this point, I'd like to recommend a TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, and it's all about how body language helps a person in a difficult situation. So it's a very, very interesting TED Talk. It's about how by being in a power pose, so power pose are, hands on hips, or just having an open posture, where people who have closed body language, or they're unsure, they're sort of in this kind of position, where if you're in an open position, hands on hips, she has found that there are different levels of hormones that are increased or decreased. So if you're in a power position, you decrease the amount of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So it's very interesting, and it's something you can do to improve your confidence. Now, when would you use something like that? Say you're going, one, for a job interview. Secondly, and that's what Amy Cuddy talks about in her TED Talk, but if you were to apply that in sports physiotherapy, say you're going into a stressful situation with a difficult athlete, or you think that, wow, this athlete's going to be very, very difficult for you, or they might be challenging you to, because they want to get the best results in the shortest period of time, and you want to try and get that for them, but it's, it's stressing you out, it's causing problems for you. By doing the body language skills, or creating body language skills, or improving your body language skills, you will find that you can become better because it's going to improve your confidence. To touch upon this a little bit more, to become a confident person or to improve your body language, as I said before, the open positions. So having an open stance, your body language is open, your head is up, chin is up, shoulders back, nice and tall. You're having all the alpha qualities of behavior, because that will ultimately determine that you have good body language. So, to improve confidence, body language and your non-verbal skills. As I said, have a look at Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. I have all my staff watching that as well, because it's quite a wonderful TED Talk, very popular too. Confidence is all about taking control. A patient or an athlete will come to you and they'll say, I'm in pain. I need your help. I want to be competing. I want to be training. I don't want to be in this discomfort, because ultimately I can't do the things that I love. The things that I love, if you're not treating anyone in sport, it might mean that they want to play an afternoon game of cricket with their children, okay? And they can't because they got pain and they've got, say, back pain. You have to be in a position to take control and say, okay, you've got pain and I'm going to try and solve that problem for you. Just by being able to communicate that, you are taking control. You are the person who's taking that person from point A to point B. And the importance of that is so vital. Most people, when they come to you, they're unsure. I like to call this the grey zone. Situations can be black and white, where it's either a yes or a no, but when a person comes to you, they're in a grey zone. They are not sure what's happening, they don't know what's going on with their bodies, they don't know whether they'll be okay, and they are scared. You are the one who decreases that grey zone. You are the person who creates a black and white zone. You say, well, this is where we are now. Okay? This is where we are right now. Plus, this is where I'm going to get you to. I'm going to help you go from here to here. I'm the conduit to your happiness. And if you have that mindset, if you're thinking about that, then you're taking control. Another aspect to confidence is to have a friendly and pleasing manner. If we are in the profession of happiness, okay? If we are in the profession of happiness, we are people who are trying to make people happy. We are also trying to help people out of pain, and we're taking them through a journey. We're in control. We can't do that if we don't have a pleasing or a friendly personality. We need to have excellent communication skills. We need to have excellent skills to show people how to get through that journey. And you are able to do that by creating this. Okay? For some people, this doesn't come too easy. But for some, it's very simple. The first thing they might do is they have a smile on their face. So most practitioners, they have a smile on their face. How important is that? When a person in pain sees you, you're not smiling away going, oh wow, you're in pain, but you have that personality to be open and say, that's all right, I know you're in discomfort. You have that friendly nature to yourself, but yeah, you're pleasing as well. Okay? So don't go overboard with this. You're not smiling ear to ear when they're describing how bad, how they've missed out on their medal. You're not doing that by all means. I don't mean that at all. What I'm trying to say is that to be friendly and to have a pleasing personality goes a long way, and that improves your confidence as well. Because if you have this, the interaction and the communication is a lot easier, and it's a lot better. Knowing your limitations makes you a confident practitioner as well. Knowing your limitations is, if what I work with, me personally, I want to make a difference with my athletes that I see in 3 sessions or less. Making a difference. Making a difference is something significant from the time they come in. Now, in 3 sessions or less, I haven't made a difference, then I know I need more help. I need to send them to a referral. I need to refer them for an MRI. I need to refer them to a specialist. I need to refer them to another practitioner. Maybe it's not my expertise, but I am able to identify it after 3 sessions. I came about this. I was the head of sports medicine, well, this is going back to 2008, and during that time I was the head of sports medicine Melbourne at the University of Melbourne, and we were on tour for the Australian University Games, and I was having a very nice chat with one of the sports doctors, and the sports doctor said, "You know what, Kusal? I only recommend my patients to go to a physio, and after 3 sessions I warn them. I say, if the physio is wasting your time and money and there's no change in 3 sessions, I say, well, you come back to me. It just means that that practitioner isn't doing the right thing." From that day onwards, I thought, wow, that is probably the best thing I've heard, because I've based all my teachings and all my learnings from that point on. I must say, that wasn't 2008, that was way back in 2004. It was one of our tours, the Australian Uni Games, and at that time it was in Perth, in Australia. So, knowing your limitations means that you know exactly what you can do, what you can't do, and you've got a framework around it saying, okay, well actually I'm not making a difference here. Who else does this person need to see? It means that you're in control, okay? You're still helping this person get through from point A to point B, but you're using other team members, other practitioners, other colleagues, other professionals in your network to provide that solution. Another story I can share with you is one of the best doctors, one of the best GPs I ever had the opportunity to work with. He would refer people to me. I was a very young therapist at the time, and I didn't know everything. I was still learning my trade, I was still learning my skills, and I ended up catching up with this GP over coffee one day, and I said, "Thank you for sending me all these patients. How did you know that I was able to help them?" Well, he said, "Kusal, I'm a GP. I know everything about what happens medically with a person. I am limited by my musculoskeletal skills and my musculoskeletal knowledge. I know that you, as a young practitioner, would have learned all that at university anyway. So I want you to take care of these people in the manner that you know how. I don't know that expertise, but I trust you, I know you, and we do get along, so I know if you're going to have any issues, you're going to get back to me anyway. Plus, you're going to help them." So it was a lot of confidence for me. Now, he knew his limitations. And what I'd like to do is challenge you to say, well, know your limitations and know what you'd like to do after that. Know what you'd like to do if you are limited by your skills or your knowledge. What are you going to do? Because then the person who benefits is your patient or your athlete. To improve your confidence, the things that you don't do, you don't want to increase doubt for your patient. Now, I was talking about the grey area. People are coming in scared, they're coming in worried, they want their problem solved. You don't want to increase that. This can be increased by bad body language. It can be increased by the lack of communication from your part. A good example of that is if a person says, well, I've got this back pain, I'm not sure what to do, and you might say, well, great, I'm going to treat you today, and say you've treated this person, and you say to them, I'm going to send you up some information just to explain what's happening with the back problems. It might be something that you've found in the internet. It might be the latest research on back pain. And you say, I'm going to send that to you tonight. But you never do. So you've told this person, well, this is some latest research, I'm going to send it out to you, it's going to help you understand your back problem. You never do that. By not doing that, that person is still in that grey zone. You have not done anything to help improve them out of it. You might have done a little bit with the treatment, but because of the way you've communicated something and not gone and done something that you should have, then you are making that person still be in the grey zone. So don't increase doubt for your patient. They live in a very scary place. You have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of knowledge about the body, how it works, treatment processes. You have a very good understanding of the subjective, objective, analysis. You have a very good understanding of treatment. You have a very good understanding of education, or educating others, and on prevention. Your patient doesn't know this. Your patient doesn't know that there's a process, or your patient doesn't know that there's solutions to their problem. What you want to try and do is create that pathway for it, but you don't want to increase doubt. So have a think about that, because that ultimately, when you create doubt in a person, it doesn't help you up here. It doesn't help your confidence. And it comes to bite you on your bum down the track. The other thing that can decrease your confidence is apprehensive thoughts and language. So just as what we talked about here, increasing doubt for the patient, your apprehensive thoughts, whether you might not have the skills yet, okay, not yet, you might not have the skills or the knowledge on a very difficult scenario. But you having apprehension and you having language issues can affect you. It can also affect your patient. One example of this is, say you have a person who is struggling to understand a very rare form of a shoulder problem. And say it's so rare that only a certain percentage of people have this, and you have never seen these people before, or you have never seen a condition like this before. So what do? If you have these apprehensive thoughts and you tend to say things like, oh wow, I've never seen this type of problem before, so I'm actually not sure what to do. Okay? Now you might not say that out loud, but it might be there. What I'd like to challenge you And what I'd like to tell you is to frame that in a way that you can turn that around. If, for example, it was me, it's a rare shoulder condition that I've never seen before, and I'd say, wow, this shoulder condition is quite rare. You know what? I've never treated anything like this, but I'm going to find out everything that I need to help you. Once again, that grey area for that person, you've minimized it because you've opened yourself up to that person and said, well, yeah, these are my limitations, but I'm going to find a solution for you. And just as I said, with what I do and with my work, I say to a lot of people, I'm going to make a difference to you in 3 sessions or less. If I can't find that solution for you, if I can't make that difference for you, I will find someone who will. And that's enough for most people, because just by explaining that, you're not doing that. And your framework and your mindset is then okay to help that person. So that was the first 2 done. Competence, confidence. The third thing that's quite vital is professional development. What is professional development? We are in the profession where we're always learning. As an expert, as a person who has been there, done that, as a person who has seen everything in the profession, you might be a person with 25 years experience. As soon as you hang your hat and say, wow, you know what? I've achieved it all. I've done everything. That is the day you should retire. Because in our profession, we are always. Tomorrow, there's always going to be a better system. Tomorrow, there's always going to be something newer. There's always going to be a new technique, a new technology, a new clinical reasoning process that instead of the problem being solved in 6 weeks, you can have it down to 12 days, okay? Imagine it being down to 15 minutes. All of that is because you're thinking, well, what else is out there? What else can be done to develop myself and to be better at what I do? Professional development is just that. It's all about being the best you can be and the steps you're going to take to get there. So you're always learning, very important. I get this question asked a lot. What professional development courses should I do? Learn what you love. If you're learning what you love, you're going to enjoy it. If you're learning something, you're going to enjoy it. If you're learning something you love, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to absorb it more, and you're going to be able to utilize it more. During the first 7 years of my career, I had done Pilates as a professional development course. I had done up to, I think Pilates was up to 4 levels. Then there was a specific taping technique, which is widely found around the world now, the Kinesio taping techniques, which is the myofascial taping technique. It was introduced to Australia way back in 2001. I was one of the first people to go and learn that from Dr. Kenzo Kaze. He was the founder of the Kinesio tape. And he was a brilliant man, wonderful chap who had been a practitioner for about 30, no, actually more than that, about 40 odd years. But they were things. So that was Pilates, that was the Kinesio tape. Then there was dry needling. So it was an area that I found that I wanted to learn a little bit more. And I did, and I learned it. So ultimately, those were things that really liked, I really loved, and I really wanted to better myself at it. And I wanted to learn about it. So that's how I chose my professional development topics. Another thing is you want to learn about professional development topics or lectures that intrigue you. Excuse me. What intrigued me about needling was that I saw acupuncturists using acupuncture needles to help people medically. And it really got me thinking, it intrigued me. And I thought, wow, this is so interesting to see how a tiny needle can make such a big difference to these people. So I thought, wow, that's very interesting. I want to learn it. So keep your mind in tune to these things. Keep your mind in tune to those things that, that interest you. And if it's intriguing, then you go for it. And then you go in deeper. I talked about this before. When you go and do professional development, you want to become the best that you can be. So when it was the Pilates, I wanted to learn all about the Pilates so I could administer it the way I liked. And I saw how it could help my athletes. So there was all the concepts out there on Pilates. I went in and looked at a few different techniques. There's wonderful Pilates teachers around the world. There was, at the time, Craig Phillips, he's quite a renowned physio in Melbourne. And I was a young physio at the time. And, his work interested me because he did the Pilates. He had a background in dance. And he also was able to mix the physiotherapy into it. So it was wonderful to learn from. So just like that, I wanted to get that information from him so I could apply it to my clientele and my athletes and then, the people I work with. So you're pulling out all the things that you want because ultimately it makes you become the best that you can be. So it's not a race. It's nothing to do with, am I the best physio out there? Am I the best person out there doing this kind of technique? Or am I the best because I've done so many courses? No, it's not. It's all about you being the best at what you can do because at the end of the day, there's only one person that matters. And that is your patient, your athlete. At the end of the day, your patient, your athlete, they come in at point A, they want to get to point B, in the middle is you. You're the conduit that helps them get there. So you need to become the best that you can be. Other thing about professional development is that you become the expert. You want to specialize. If there's an area of sports physiotherapy, sports medicine, if there's an area of being a practitioner in sport, you start out like a funnel and you look at all the things that you've done and you think, oh wow, that needling, that dry needling was so interesting. I've done the Pilates now and wow, the needling is so interesting. I want to go in deeper with that. And you go in deeper until you've learned everything about that. Until you've learned everything that you are utilizing to help your patient or your athlete. But you become the expert. You are able to specialize in it. And you become that person where when people think, dry needling? Yep, I need to see them. Wow, they've done all this training in it. They are the specialist in it. Now that is just a small topic like needling. You can become a specialist in a certain body area. You can be a specialist in pain. You can be a specialist in solving problems for athletes. You can be a specialist in a certain sport. The world is your oyster. And I think this is the beauty about being in this profession that we're in. You get to choose, and you don't have any constraints. You get to create your magic. So how do you do this? How do you improve your professional development skills? Things I'd recommend: you read, watch, and then you contact. There's plenty to read out there. There's so much stuff on the internet that you can read. There's so many journals out there, and even now there's so many journals that are available online. Okay. Watching, once again, internet. There's a lot of stuff like this, which I'm doing with you right now. There's a lot of internet, web-based programs. So yeah, watching is one factor, or the second part to this. The second, sorry, I'm getting everything muddled up. Apologies. The third thing is contact. If you are on LinkedIn I highly advise, because you're able to connect with experts around the world. All you have to do is send a person a message on LinkedIn, or connect with them first and say, someone would say to me, Kusal, I'd loved seeing the 4 essentials about being a wonderful sports physio. Can you expand on something? And then I'd say, yes, I'd love to expand. And then you learn, okay? So making contact is one of the big ways, and I highly recommend it for young practitioners, because it allows other practitioners to notice you, but it allows you to become better at what you are in a shorter period of time. In Australia, they recommend 100 professional development points per year of professional development. So what that means is every hour you read a book or on physiotherapy, or something to do with helping your athlete. It might be a treatment technique, it might be an assessment technique, it might be something to do with the way you analyze problems. It could be something to do with clinical reasoning. Excuse me. Every hour that you do something gets added to, it converts to a point. Some things that are accredited can be double the time, I believe. So if you've spent 1 hour doing a certain course, because it's accredited, you might get 2 professional development points for that. What they recommend is 100. What I recommend is 200 a year, because you're always thinking about doing the things that you love. If you're doing the things that you love, it doesn't feel like it's tedious. It doesn't feel like it's too hard to work. I have averaged anywhere between 350 to 375 professional development points over the last 15 years. So I mean, I'm very proud of that fact, but it never felt like work, because I was always intrigued. I always wanted to learn everything about sports physiotherapy. When I graduated, I loved sports physio. I only ever wanted to work in sports, and I only ever wanted to work in outpatients. One of my first jobs over in Singapore, so I graduated in Melbourne from the University of Melbourne, and I got a job in Singapore, and they said, oh, do you want to work in inpatients or outpatients? I said, whoa, wait, I don't want to work in inpatients. I want to work in outpatients. And that's how it all started, and I just went and did all the stuff that I loved. And if there's one thing I can share with you, do the things that you love, because if you love it, it doesn't feel like work, and you're going to learn, and your mind is like a sponge. You can get in a lot, and you can just make a difference. So yes, that's an example of what I did, and I'd recommend at least 200 hours a year, or 200 professional development points a year. that will help improve your professional development. So that was the first three: competence, confidence, professional development. The commitment. Commitment is the fourth one. Commitment is ultimately, I'll just go back for a second. Commitment is what takes what you've done in the first three to the next level. And this is everything for the long term. So what is the long term? You want to have a plan for the first year. You want to have a plan where you see yourself in 2 years' time. You want to have a plan for 5 years. And you also want to have a plan for 10 years. Now you might not be sure what you would be doing, okay, in 10 years' time, but you have a basic idea. You think, I see myself doing this in 10 years' time. I see myself doing this as a sports therapist in 10 years' time. To do the plan from year 1 to 5 and 10, you need to ask yourself these questions. What do I love to do? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to work? And how do I want to help these people? Okay? What do I love to do? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to work? And how do I want to serve, or how do I want to help these people? By answering these questions, you're able to then look at year 1, year 2, year 5, year 10. And don't be too scared if you haven't got anything for year 5 and year 10. As long as it's in the back of your mind, you know what your commitment is. Or you have an idea of what your commitment is. Now, I talked about the first two: competence, confidence, and professional development. When you master, so for commitment, when you master 1, 2, 3, to show commitment and to improve on this, I challenge you to teach what you know. Teach what you know to others. When I was, I had graduated nearly 6 months, I was working 6 months after I graduated, and I was given a student. I was thinking, oh my goodness, you know, the student probably knows more than me. But what I found was the student didn't have the clinical knowledge that I knew, even within that 6 months. So I was able to teach what I knew to them. And that really got the ball rolling for me. I was able to then say, oh, I'd like to help more students. I'd love to mentor others. And I guess this is where we're at right now with all of this. That ball just kept on rolling and rolling and rolling, and I love lecturing, I love mentoring, I love sharing what I do and what I've done and all the things that I've learned. I love to bring it out to everyone. And I think this is how it all started. Even 6 months in, I got my first student, and I was able to say, wow, I'm able to make a difference for this person. So teaching, I challenge you to teach. I challenge you to teach what you know. Even if you have to teach a younger sibling, okay? Even if you have to teach your grandma about a certain process. Even if you have to teach your parents or an uncle. Even your colleagues. But challenge yourself to teach, because it'll take you as a professional to another level. And it just builds confidence. It really builds competence too. And then because you're teaching, you're learning the things about professional development. You see how others are teaching you, and then you're able to look at those skills, and then you're able to teach others. So for commitment, in the long term, I highly recommend teaching. Being committed, also, it's about having pride. So you will obviously get a wonderful sense of pride with the work that you do, because you're helping people, you're helping athletes, you're helping those who are in that grey zone. There's that pride, the happiness, and you're getting results. So as you are committed to this journey, as you continue with it, these just flow naturally, and it just becomes part of you. It becomes second nature. Although I'll put down how here, these with time become a part of you. So here we are at the end. The 4 pillars, the 4 essentials to help you become a wonderful sports physiotherapist. Not just a sports physiotherapist, if you are a therapist who works with sport, you want to be looking at these pillars. There's competence, confidence, professional development, and commitment. So what are the 3 things that you need to do next? Firstly, you want to have the correct mindset. I talked about mindset before, and I feel this is a major area for you as a practitioner. With your very next patient, what I'd like for you to think about first is you think to yourself, how do I make the biggest difference in the shortest period of time for this person? You think about it first, and before you even go into the room or before you even speak to them, you know the case because you've seen them before, or it might be a new client or a new patient, new athlete. You say to them, well, how can I make the best difference, the biggest difference in the shortest period of time for this person? You have that in your mindset. You have that in your mind. The next thing I'd like you to do is say that to the person. Even if it's someone you have been seeing for the last 3, 4, 6 weeks, you say, Mrs. Jones, I am going to get you the best result in the shortest period of time from now on. And see how that statement will make a difference to them. That will help improve and correct the mindset for you as well. Because you're always thinking and you start becoming what you want to be, where you're getting the best results in the shortest period of time. The second thing I'd like you to think about, if there's one thing you want to achieve this year, it's going to be da da da. I want you to write that down, and I want you to share that with yourself. Okay? You don't need to share it with everyone. You can. There's actually a lot of research where if you share your goals with your colleagues, friends, family, they're more likely to come true. So, okay, you can do that too. You can, do this as a second thing. One thing I want to achieve this year is this, and write it down. The third thing I'd like you to do is, if there's one thing I want to learn this year, and I want you to write that down as well. Writing things down are very powerful. By writing things down, you're making a contract with yourself. By sharing it, solidifies it. Okay? So go ahead, share it. Write it and then share it. Hi there again. I hope you enjoyed that lecture. I have enjoyed putting my lecture material out there, and I've enjoyed bringing this lecture particularly because for me to do this, there was a lot of understanding of where I had been and where I am now. So I just wanted to share all of this with you because sometimes being a young practitioner or a young therapist and you're trying to make your way, you want to try and get as much information as possible. I hope this has helped you. It certainly has made a bigger difference in my career now that I know it. I wish I had known this say even 15 years ago when I first started, because then I could work on these building blocks. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and go out there, be the best that you can be, and make a difference in the world, and I wish you well. So see you next time. Till then, goodbye.